Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brothers. Jazakallah khairan, Imam Muhammad, for being willing to discuss the topic of personal finance and budgeting. I'm going to give a short reminder based on a hadith found in Sunan Tirmidhi that kind of sets the groundwork for why this topic is important. I know probably as you're looking through the WhatsApp messages, the topic is personal finance and budgeting. Hamza, we're talking about napkin math, but there's a hadith in Sunan Tirmidhi. It's sahih, it's authentic, and it's great. The companion Abu Umamah radiallahu anhu narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you were to spend your surplus, it is better for you. If you were to hold it back, it's worse for you. There's no blameworthiness in holding on to what you need. Some of the narrations would also add on that common phrase, the upper hand is better than the lower hand. So the upper hand that's giving is better than the lower hand that's receiving. Now, when we hear this word surplus, what do you think it means?
More.
Huh?
More.
More what?
Extra money.
Okay, extra, there we go. Extra wealth. So if you're wanting to follow and abide by this hadith, how are you going to know what is your surplus? How are you going to know what's enough to hold on to? You have to budget, you have to track what you're bringing in. What are your debts? What are your obligations? What are you spending? So this word budgeting, we kind of think of it like, Hamza, like this is silly, this is napkin math, but this is essentially us holding ourselves accountable of the rizq that Allah has given us, right? We shouldn't have fear where we're getting our rizq, but we should have ownership and accountability in terms of what are we doing with that rizq. And that all kind of falls under that umbrella of personal finance and of budgeting. So without further ado, I ask Allah to make this a beneficial program, and may Allah reward you, Imam Muhammad Sharieff, for being able to speak with us on this topic.
So just picking up where the brother left off. So yes, budgeting is money. First of all, is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us as a bounty. Alhamdulillah. And what we do with it is, one of the first things that we're asked on the Day of Judgment is where we make our money and where we spend it. All right. So that's basically what we're doing, is sort of like trying to figure out where budgeting comes in. Now, same thing like, successful people always have a schedule, how to allocate their time. This is what budgeting is. If you have money, then how to allocate your money appropriately to become successful, right? So we use this a lot, okay, for budgeting and terminology and finance. But then just think of it in your mind. What is the definition of finance? What do you think finance is? So just quickly, maybe like 10 seconds, think in your mind, what in the world is finance? Finance is the management of large amounts of money, especially by government or large companies. This is what we're talking about finance. Finance is you have a lot of money and where you're going to allocate them, how you're going to use them. You have more money than you know what to do with, or you have different goals, and if you do one thing, something else gets left out. So you kind of organize everything in your priorities. What needs to get done first, what needs to get done second, and whatnot. Budgeting is basically giving that limits, allowing or providing a particular amount of money in a budget. And a bank is a financial institution that accepts deposit from the public and provides loans to individuals and businesses. It's something to keep in mind. Many times we don't even understand what a bank is. A bank, we think, at least I used to, was that you put your money in the bank and they hold on to it and it's safe. That is absolutely not what happens to the money. Okay? I think even if you leave it there and you don't even touch it for, I believe the different states have different laws, but even 5 years or 7 years, what it does is the government takes it. The state government takes that money. Okay, so your money is absolutely not safe inside of a bank, especially if it's dormant and it's not used. The government takes it, then you have to go appeal to take your money back. But basically, if money is sitting around in a bank, it is absolutely not safe, in addition to losing value over time. What they do with that money is they take your money, they give it to other people to borrow and invest in. So if you're not investing your money and you're just leaving it in the bank is investing it on your behalf. And that's why also they give you a little monthly fee, but they waive it if you deposit, I think, 1,500 or whatnot for different banks, different amounts. Because that money, if you leave that money in your bank for 1,500, what they do is it makes up for your little small monthly fee because they're able to loan it to somebody else and take interest off of that. So they're like, okay, if you make X amount of money, you leave it behind, then we are going to waive your fee. Okay. So that's there. Alright, so these are 5 main categories for budgeting. Okay. It's pretty much like same way how you make your own schedule, right? You're the boss of how you want to distribute your time, what you think is more important, all right? And how many categories or sections do you want to put in it? You know, some people, they put a lot of amount of time in spirituality. Some people, they don't even have spirituality in there, right? So similarly for budgeting, this is the 5 main goals, and according to your own lifestyle and what you want to do, you can take a category out. You can merge 2 categories together. You could actually even add a 6th category if you want to. Okay, so you are actually the boss of it, but then essentially the main components for budgeting is these 5: essential, securities, goal, lifestyle, and discretion. Now, what are each of them? For essentials, right? Essentials is basically absolutely the things that you absolutely need to survive. The things you absolutely need to survive, examples, rent, your groceries, things of that nature that you're going to spend every single month. Okay, so that's the essentials, absolute essentials. Without this, you are going to have trouble just living your own life. So that's the first category, which is essentials. Second is securities. Securities means that you're making your financial situation better. You are stabilizing your financial situation. How do you do that? Okay, you could, if you have student debt, paying off the student debt. That is making your financial situation better. Or if you want to save up for emergency fund, okay, not saving up for goals, that's something different. Saving up for emergency fund, you know, like an accident might happen, you have something to lean back on. That makes your financial situation more stabilized. Okay, that's the securities. And of course, this also under securities, it could be buying investments, could go under here. Okay, you're buying something that holds value. Okay, that could be like an emergency fund. Okay, maybe real estate, land, whatever. Those are securities. Okay, some things you're holding on to just for stabilizing your financial situation. And then you have goals. So goals are things you are saving for. Savings for merchandise, a car, house, stuff of that nature. You're saving for that, or trips, Umrah, Hajj. All those are your goals. So that's something that's very important when you're saving. Your goals is for that. That's your third category for your budgeting. And lifestyle. So lifestyle is more of like your social expectations, right? So something you have essentials, like for example, like your clothing. But we don't really put clothing in essentials because we need very little clothing, like bare minimum to cover yourself there and walk around and live your life is very small. So clothing generally we put that under lifestyle because we need to dress a certain way according to how much what Allah SWT has blessed us with. The way we dress is very different from how a person in a third world country dress, right? That could be more like essentials. And how we're dressing to make sure, okay, listen, this clothes has to be at a certain degree, okay? If there's a hole in there, that's it, we can't wear it. There's a stain there, that's it, you know? So you have to get some nice branded clothing, sometimes even extra pairs to match, so it matches nicely. All those is for social appearances. So that's your lifestyle, okay? What's expected from you from society. Also, there's gifts. Okay, your friend got married and stuff. So you leave aside some amount for for what's expected in society, to give gifts for people who got married. Somebody had a child, you give them money. That is basically your lifestyle, social expectations, grooming, haircuts, things of that nature. So those are lifestyles. Gym memberships, okay. It's not essential, but it's something that you would be expected to hold for how you look. And discretion is basically your personal wants, desires, and treats. It's just treating yourself and having fun. Okay, that's the 5th category. These are examples on the next slide. for each one. Any questions so far? Simple, straightforward. Sure, no questions? Alright, yes.
Just out of curiosity, the way you listed them in order, is that like a specific order or just, that's how you chose to?
That's
Or
how.
by priority maybe?
Yes.
By
This is priority. So as soon as it comes in, the essential, you need this to survive. Security is paying off your debt. That's actually something that's very important, at least in everybody's opinion. And yeah, goals. I would even like suggest having like 3 bank accounts. You know, you don't see like the money, then you don't spend it. You know, in the first bank account, you have like your essentials and securities. Okay, you're going to use this, all of it. So your goal should be like, okay, I think even when you have like debit cards, they say that if you have an X amount of money coming in as direct deposits, right? So if you have work and your money's coming in weekly, bi-weekly, whatever, then you don't have a minimum amount that you need to keep in your bank, right? So I'll be like, okay, when my money comes in, let's just say I have $4,000 coming in monthly, yeah? So if you have $4,000 coming in monthly, and after that, as soon as that money comes in, you have 3 accounts. One, I will leave for just goals. Okay, these are goals, your vacation or your Hajj or Umrah, your down payment for a house, you keep that straight there. Let's just say you allocate, I don't know, $500 for your goals, okay, for example. So it comes in, the 4,000 comes in, the first thing you do, as soon as the money comes in, 500, take it out, transfer it to your goal account. Okay, it goes straight there. Then, your lifestyle and discretion, okay? This is basically how much money did you allocate for this, all right? For having fun and for, you know, somebody you have to give a gift or whatnot, some of those little expenses that happen infrequently throughout the year. So you put that on your 3rd bank account, okay? And then the rest of it is gonna be used up. Everything that's gonna stay in your primary bank account is gonna get used up. It's for your essentials, and then if you need to pay your debt off, your student debt, that's gonna get paid off. And yeah, stabilizing debt. So all of this is gonna get used up, and then goals separate, and lifestyle and discretionary separate. This might add up slowly, because if you don't do your discretion, it's saving up, you know? And you might want to be like, oh, this is adding up a lot, then you can probably transfer it to your goals if you want to. Or maybe there's an emergency fund that comes in, then you can go ahead and use that extra amount in your lifestyle discretionary. Yes?
You mean like, when you say accounts, does you mean like different, like you have a savings account and you have a checking account, you mean those, or do you mean the something else?
Yeah, you see, for savings account, what happens is that you accumulate interest. So we don't really go with saving accounts. We want to avoid that. And again, like the whole bank system too is set up in a way for savings accounts that you keep putting money in. This is where your basically your goals will go into, right? Where you're saving in. If saving accounts were something that we do, but we don't. So they make a lot of restrictions on your saving accounts too. You can't deposit so much money at the same time. If you do that, you get penalized for that. You get a huge fee. And they give you interest, a very small amount. So you use that money, they get a lot of interest, and they throw a few pennies in your face and make you a part of the crime. Yes.
What type of accounts would you suggest for the other accounts that you?
All debit. And especially if you're a student, then you have, most of the accounts are free until you're 25.
Okay.
So 25, some of them even 28. All right, even after you graduate, until 28, your account is no monthly fee for it. So I would go with debit, definitely. There are very few debit cards. Capital One has it. I don't know about other ones, but there are a few debit accounts that do give you interest too, but that's very rare. So debit accounts, definitely. All 3 of them debit. You could be in the same financial institution, but perhaps other ones would be better. And TD Bank is another one that I know that the minimum thing to keep in there without getting charged is only $100. So online banking, you can do it online, and then TD Bank would.
So the name of the bank is TD Bank?
Yeah. They have a US and Canada as well. They have both branches.
And at work, yeah, like you can route your paycheck to go to like separate bank accounts.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I have 3 bank accounts.
Perfect.
That I route.
Nice. Yeah, if you have 3 different paychecks, you can put them, 1 in each. All right. So that's there. Again, if you wanna merge lifestyle and discretionary, you can do that as well, but then they are clearly different. One is social and appearances, and one is straight up massaging, going out, having fun, restaurants, things of that nature. Yes.
What are the three categories you said?
I would say essential insecurities here,
Yeah.
because this is all gonna get used up.
Okay, so that's one, that's
One.
one account, and then goals is separate.
Goals is, as soon as your paycheck comes, you put it straight to goals and forget about it like it was never there.
Oh.
And then lifestyle is the third account, which basically you would need it if you're gonna go shopping. If you need some clothes, you're gonna use that account. If you need to go out and eat, you're gonna use that account.
So for the other accounts, so essentials and securities all used up. For the other accounts, would you suggest not getting like a debit card for them, so that way you're not even thinking about using those spending out of them?
Yes, for goals, perhaps you don't even need a debit card.
Okay.
Okay, but then for lifestyle and discretionary, you probably would, because you're gonna take clothes and stuff and, yeah. Gonna buy clothes, membership, things like that. Alright, percentages. What you would do essentially, because your income kind of changes as you progress throughout your career. So what you would do for budgeting, once you have you decided how much you're gonna allocate for each group, then put a number on it, a percentage. Now when your income increases, you get to increase every single one of those categories accordingly. Does that make any sense? Okay. So, budgeting works best with the funds you already have. Budgeting works best in the funds you already have. That's the main thing. That's when people start budgeting, is they already have funds and they're like, okay, I have multiple goals, I have multiple things I wanna do. Should I pay off my student debt? Then I won't be able to go to Hajj. If I have to go for Hajj, then I won't be able to buy a house. So this is when budgeting comes in handy. It was like, which one are you gonna prioritize when? So this is when people usually start doing budgeting, is when they have enough money and they start prioritizing their goals. So what you could do is that your current amount, your current your current finances, that where you use and allocate your money, right? You could go through the last 3 months of your statements and see, where am I using this money? Like, where is it going? Okay, do your own hisaab right here, They do a little mini hisaab and you see that, where is it going? Is it going to discretionary? Is it going into, essentials? How much is essentials? Then you have a percentage, oh wow, 50%, 40% of my money is going through essentials. 60%, what am I doing with it? Then you can go look at, what are you doing with that money? That's really nice. And it's a really cool thing, I really do want to share it, but at the same time, it's sort of personal. So I would perhaps want to turn off the screen for a little bit. And then sign into my bank account, and then show you sort of how one of the bank accounts, and show you how things work.
Okay, so once you click in there, you're going to see all of the recent transactions. So once you're here, you can't do it on the Chase mobile app for some reason, which is kind of unfortunate, and that's at least at the time of the recording of this video. So once you're here,
So you have to have a laptop to get this done. You can go into your recent transaction, and you can actually download it as a PDF.
on your Chase account,
Is this
you can
for
download
a
a spreadsheet
normal
of your transactions.
checking account? Because it says Chase for business.
Yeah, normal checking account.
Normal.
Business definitely, but then checking account has this. The other one, KeyBank, I'm not sure if they have that here either. KeyBank has it. Every major credit card bank is going to have this type of feature in it. And this is really good for even taxes. Okay, if you're gonna file for business taxes, whatnot. That's where I learned it from one of the person who was the accountant was doing the taxes for me. He showed me this, and I think it's very, very helpful and helpful to get everything organized.
First, you have to find the account. So you want to click on the accounts button here on the top left. Okay, so once you click there, you will see all of the accounts that you have on Chase. You can see I just have these 2 bank accounts. And next, you want to choose the account that you'd like to download all of the Chase transactions. So I'm going to choose this one right here. Okay, so once you click in there, you're going to see all of the recent transactions. So for this account, you can see there's these $25 transactions. Now, in order to download your Chase transaction history, click on this downward button here above the transactions. Okay, guys, so here is where you can go ahead and download a spreadsheet.
Here
the
too,
downward button.
when he's over here, once you go into your bank account, it's like which bank account you're interested in. Then, when you're actually searching, where it says search showing all transaction, you can customize that search into the last 3 months, right? So you customize it into the last 3 months, and then you could turn it into a Microsoft Excel sheet. you have everything in front of you, the date, you have how much the amount you purchased and exactly where it was. It has that little one line in your bank account, it has exactly where it was. So you know if it's a gas station or whatnot, or a restaurant, it's all there. And all you have to do is drag and drop everything, and you know exactly where your money's going. So it's a really nice thing, maybe it takes about like 15, depending how much transactions you have, right? Then it's very easy to organize it, maybe 15-20 minutes, everything is good, and now you have a percentage of like, how much you're spending, and if you need to adjust that or not.
Button here above the transactions. Okay guys, so here is where you can go ahead and download a spreadsheet of your Chase transactions. You need to fill out these 3 items right here. First, you have to choose the account if you have multiple accounts with Chase. So this one right here, I'm gonna go ahead and choose this one. Next, you wanna choose the file type. So this is something that your bookkeeper or accountant or whoever's requesting the spreadsheet is going to let you know. So if you open this up, by default, it's gonna be an Excel spreadsheet. But if your bookkeeper is working in Quicken or QuickBooks, you can download that file type as well. For me, I'm gonna go ahead and leave it as a spreadsheet. And then here, you wanna go ahead and open this up. Okay, so now you get to choose the date range. So maybe the bookkeeper's only asking for the transactions for the current month, or maybe the past year. And how you choose that is click right here, choose a date range. Okay, so now you can go ahead and choose a date range. So for the purpose of this video, I'm gonna do the last 60 days. So today is July 22nd. Okay, so I'm gonna jump back to May 22nd. Okay, May 22nd, and then we're gonna go all the way to July 22nd. I chose the last 60 days. Now, one thing I wanna let you know is if you need to pull historical transactions past 2 years ago, unfortunately, you're just gonna have to pull the paper PDF statement and then pull the data from the PDF, which is kind of annoying. The nice thing is that you can pay somebody on Fiverr or Upwork and they can pull that data for you. But if you need an Excel spreadsheet, the maximum you can go back is 24 months, which is 2 years with the Chase website. All right, so once we have all this filled out and you'd like to download your recent activity into a spreadsheet from Chase, click on download. Okay, next you're gonna see this pop up with a green check mark saying that you have downloaded your Chase activity into a spreadsheet. One thing I wanna let you know is if you're pulling a large amount of data, so anything over 1,000 data points, you have to split it up, unfortunately. So for example, if you're trying to pull the recent year's transactions in.
Pretty much that's what it is. You get the gist of it. Yep. So you go there, last 60 months, 33 months, and then you can organize it, and then you see where your thing is looking on. And after you put it on, then you can see, okay, this is your total expenses, this is your total security, how much you want to do in each one, and you can organize it and give it a percentage. For example, if your expenses is, let's just say, your discretionary. If you want to go around and spend $150 in there, discretionary, then you would go from your total income, which is 3,500, you would be 150. So you would just go ahead and divide 3,500. So 150 divided by 3,500.
There's some.
It's treating B4 as a currency versus like a number,
Oh.
I think.
You might need to format it to percentage.
Let's see.
I don't know.
So you can leave the divide and then just press the percentage sign under data up there.
You can take that so that divide formula, yeah, you can put it in the percentage. No.
You can just multiply by 100.
Yeah.
That's also.
Yeah, that's fine.
So you say just even take the number that's different from the.
But basically, that's what you find that percentage, and then you could, your discretionary is, let's just say 1,500 divided by 3,050, and you could have that percentage in for each one of them, and then we go. I think that is the end. Key takeaways is most effective budgeting works exclusively with present dollars. Okay, so future dollars could be allocated according to how you would already use it. Make a separate bank account for savings and goals, assign percentage for each section of your budgeting, and you must keep track, evaluate, and adjust budgeting regularly to reach your goals. Yes?
So, is it better to just maintain a one bank account, but keeping track of your expenses into this thing instead of having like 2-3 bank accounts?
Yeah, that's up to you. It's your money, yeah, however you wanna do it. I prefer having a different account so you know exactly where it is and you can access it on your phone. Or if you wanna take out it in cash and put it in an envelope, you can do that.
It's easier to see like your essentials, all of your essential stuff is in one bank. And all of your savings is in another bank, your goals is in a different bank. Like it's much easier to see that personally.
I think psychologically as well, it's better to have separate accounts. So like, okay, you direct deposit into your main, essentials account, and then actually having to sit there and calculate and divide up into the other accounts. I feel like that's a lot better than just disciplining yourself and keeping track of, your budget. A lot of people, and this is why, like, once again, I know this is a deceptively simple topic, but let's be honest, within our Muslim community, can you pull 10 people out and say, do you actually like sit and budget? Or are you just kind of like napkin mathing it like every so often? SubhanAllah, like, and I say this from experience, having been on the board of a masjid. How many times people have given pledges, and then they come back later saying, oh my bad, I don't have that money. And then, yani, akhi, why did you make that pledge? When it comes to the zakat, what's one of the conditions for the zakat? What do you have to determine? That's an open question.
How much you have?
There you go. Well, how much you have, what's that term, nisaab, right? If, once you've crossed that nisaab, and of course you meet the other conditions, it becomes obligatory. But once again, if you're just kind of sitting, just kind of, we say in English, like you're just kind of, by the seat of your pants, you're just kind of doing things randomly, not keeping track of your finances. You may be living, a period of your time where actually you cross that nisaab, but you never paid your zakat. That's why it is important. For different people, different methods. I'm very old-fashioned. I love writing stuff down on like a pad of paper. Some people might like Excel sheets. Some people might like other methods. But actually keeping a conscientious track of what's coming in, what's being spent, what are your debts, and then in the future, if ever you're in a situation where somebody asks for a pledge, well, if you keep a conscious track of your money, you'll be able to say yes or no. What's one of the signs of nifaq? That's applicable to this.
Not
You-
keeping a
There we go. You're giving a promise or you're giving a commitment and you don't follow through. I mean, once again, maybe deceptively simple, but fundamentally important. So, does anybody have any questions on that?
Could you like do an example run of like how you would calculate how much?
Like calculate, like.
How much money you have?
No. That's a quick double switch. Like how much is okay? You have to give
Right off the top of my head, I'm not.
Isn't it just like 2.5% of what you
Well,
have?
it's 2.5, but are you talking about like the nisab?
Yeah.
So I know there's the two opinions, the gold and the silver. Silver is actually very low compared to like $450 maybe. I do not have the grams memorized. My apologies.
I think
I
gold
can
is
pull
85.
that and share it with everybody.
I think gold is 85 grams. I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
but
right.
gold, like, convert that to dollar amount, that's a
I
couple
think it's
thousand.
9,000.
Yeah, yeah.
Recently, Sheikh Abu Zakaria spoke about it in his Halakha on Saturday, and he kind of spoke, should move toward the gold standard. So I think when he said when it gets to that level and then it stays at that level, doesn't drop below for a whole year.
what stays at that level.
the amount of money you have altogether.
After your debts, after your essentials.
Yeah. So if the nisaab, if it stays above that level throughout the whole year, then you pay the 2.5% on that amount. You have.
Would it be like 2.5 of however much I have every month, or?
No, so
Of what you have
yourself
for 1
after
year.
your debts.
For 1 year.
yeah.
So, what you mean is if I maintain separate bank accounts, I'll have a clear idea of on what I would be,
You'll have a clear idea, but also keep, let's say like you work a job, you're getting paid bi-weekly, right? It direct deposits into your essentials account. Just the fact that, okay, I'm making the actual effort of moving it, moving some, whatever percentage I've determined for goals, what percentage I've moved for like discretionary and lifestyle, that's gonna keep you updated, like mentally, how much do I have? And so, for example, if if you're asked, hey, can you pledge to support this masjid? If you're updating yourself bi-weekly, weekly, however often you're getting paid, at least you can consciously think, can I make that commitment? Or should I just say, no, I don't have that amount, I apologize. It's better for you to be honest, like, hey, I don't have that amount, than to say, oh yeah, I'll pledge this much amount, and then we're calling, like, this has happened. We're calling a week later, hey, you gave this pledge. And I asked if I'm sorry. And then why did you in the first place, And that's, going back to that hadith, we shouldn't have fear where we're getting our rizq from. Obviously, let's seek it from the halal, not from the haram. But we are going to be questioned on Yom Qiyamah. How did you maintain that rizq? Just like our time, subhanAllah. We don't know how long we're going to live, but we're going to be questioned, how did you spend that time? Your body, your health. Some people may be born with like some sort of defect, disorder, whatever, but okay, with what you were given, what did we do with it? Sorry, I get quite passionate on this topic.
I have another question. Would the money that you're saving up, would that also count towards money that you have taken into calculation?
Yeah. What?
What was your question? The money you have?
Yeah, like for the calculating the
Okay.
zakat and
Yeah, so quickly, for zakat, in a nutshell, the brother explained it pretty well from the halaqah. But if you were to categorize it from the way we're doing it into those 3 bank accounts, right? So your essentials and your securities, that's going to be used at the end of the month, so we don't even look at that. That's your essentials, okay? And the security for the debt you're paying off, we minus that. So we take out all the essentials. Let's just say your rent is due at the end of the month, you take that out, okay? Now you do zakah on the extra amount. So basically from the 2 bank accounts, your goals, you have to pay zakah on that, and then your discretionary stuff, you have to pay zakah on that, whatever is left over, right? So those 2 you're going to look into, and you're going to look at that one specific day of the entire year, right? And people, they try to play around with it, okay? In that too, first of all, I'm sorry, I'm stepping back a little bit. It's going to be on a lunar day, right? So whenever you cross that line, okay, whenever you cross that line, the nisaab, right? That nisaab for silver or gold, there are actually 2 nisaabs, right? One for silver, one for gold. Now, which one are you going to use? Are these ahnaf, they say that the one that benefits people the most. So benefits people the most, meaning like the poor people. So which one is going to benefit? We would go for the silver, right? We would go for the silver, it benefits people most. You have extra money, you're going to wait till you have $10,000 in savings, then give to the poor. We say no, you have a few extra dollars, okay? Then you're going to do nisab not on all the money you made throughout the year. You are just going to do nisab, let's just say you had $600, right? For example, that's sitting in your goals. You had $600 saved up. You're going to pay zakat 2.5% on that $600. That's a very small amount, right? 2.5 times 6, right? That's how many dollars you're gonna pay. Yeah, so that's about it. That is for everything, and that's one date. So if that's gonna be the first, let's just say you made $600 at the end of Eid al-Fitr. All your uncles and aunts give you $100 each, and boom, now you have $700. Now you're a rich man. All right, you crossed that nisab. Now you're basically rich. You're considered to be like a person who has nisab. Now once you reach that, that's a milestone. Once you reach that milestone, you do not go down. Let's just say you had that much money, $700, and then when it fluctuated. Okay, that week you just blew up 300 of it. All right, and the left 400, you left 400. That doesn't mean that, oh, you don't have to pay zakat anymore. You stay in nisaab. Okay, you have 300, you still have to pay zakat. Okay, you still have to pay zakat on that 300, that 200, that 100, until you're absolutely poor again. Then it resets. So which category are you in? Are you totally broke or you have money? Okay, once you break through the broke category and go into the category that you have enough savings, then you stay in that category until you go completely broke again. So that takes a little longer for you to switch into the category. But anyways, that's what it is. One date from there. So it'll be Eid al-Fitr. Every Eid al-Fitr, you look at your account, how much money do you have? Okay, if you have 500, 700, 900, you pay zakat on that much. Now people, they try to play around, but at the end of the day, you're going to be playing around with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you play around with Islam. They do right before Eid al-Fitr, they go take all that money and they start spending it everywhere. You don't have to pay zakat. You know? Things of that nature. Or they try to gift it to their wife, and then their wife gifts it back after that date. Weird stuff like that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so those type of things we want to avoid, inshallah. But
So one of the things you're gonna give you back the money.
that's also another thing you don't want to do. You don't want to just gift all your money to your wife.
Can't guarantee.
Yeah. That's one thing. All right.
Wait, so can you read it too?
Alhamdulillah. I think we're good. Is there any other questions? This is a good thing. I know I'm not a professional in the field, but it's more like a.
Could I ask some questions regarding the investing?
Yeah, I guess so. We think we're gonna have another workshop on that.
Oh, we will.
I believe so. I think the brother was saying. But
I
yes.
wanted to ask, so at my job, they have a 401k that's set up. Now I know 401k falls into, yeah, making money, interest and stuff like that. For that reason, I have not touched it, I have not changed it, I have not altered it, I'm just letting them do whatever they do. Is that money still halal or would that be haram?
You see, there's different ways. To answer your question, I cannot give you a straight answer. Straight. That's one thing. Second thing is that there's a whole huge guideline for thinking of for stocks. When you're buying stocks, how you can go about doing that. AOFI, AOIFI, AOFI, I think that's it.
There's a ticker called SPUS, which is the S&P 500 version, but it's all halal, like Sharia.
Yes.
Yeah,
So that would
Sharia.
work. Especially in Malaysia stock markets and things of that nature, they have those type of things that you can invest in stocks. But then if you're investing in American stocks, there's a whole guideline on it of like, okay, shouldn't be having this much in debt for paying interest. And then if you get your dividends from there, how much of it should you assume is haram income and give that away without the interest? So there's a whole thing on it for like guidelines for stocks and stuff. But besides that, for the 401k, there are ways around if you're educated financially. I remember I read about this before, but you could actually customize it that you choose your own stocks to invest in.
Unfortunately, for the choices that they have to offer, none of them really falls under Sharia.
No, you can have your own. I think it's a whole different thing. Instead of 401k, you could opt for a
Roth finance.
personally financed or no, it's something else. Not Roth. It's something else. But you could basically you have your account, your bank account, and then you could actually personally choose which corporations or which people to invest in. You can give it to anybody. You know, it could be like this person is investing in real estate. You could give that to him. You know, and then that would count because it's not somebody from your family. You could give it to him, and then you would that would count as an investment. Right here, this is what I was talking about. Self-directed IRA. That's the IRA. Individual retirement account that allows you to invest in alternative assets, including real estate. So you can give even loans out to people. So this is amazing. If you're able to leverage this, you can actually use your own investment, and you can give it to us, just say your cousin or uncle or so whatnot, who has their own real estate company. Well, actually, you can't even do family. But whatever, another brother, you know, he has a little real estate company. You give it to him, and then he could use that to, 100% halal.
So could I open an SD IRA?
You have to do research on it. This is something I just did brief research on. Again, I'm not a professional in the field, but I did read books and things of that nature. So I just have like a surface knowledge of things.
I would assume it's probably like company by company whether they allow.
Yeah, taking notes because
I think it's federally regulated, so it's more like what the federal government says you can and cannot do. So, yeah, SDIRA, if you have a 401k, as far as I remember in my old readings, as long as you have a 401k, you can opt to get a self-directed IRA as well.